Codependency in work. Let's talk about this for a minute. I covered this a tiny bit in some of my TikToks recently. Side note, if you didn't know, I'm on TikTok. I feel very famous. I also feel very vulnerable. So, codependency in work. Let's talk about this for a second. One of the things that, it is what takes my backstory into my present and possibly into my future is my role. When we think of our role from our backstory, mascot, hero, lost child, chief enabler, scapegoat, addict, when we look at those roles that we fulfilled in our dysfunctional family system, what perpetuates that codependency language is that I'm still functioning in my role. So the more aware I become of that role, the less my past shows up in my present. So, for example, if I was the hero of my family, just a little reminder, hero is usually the oldest child or the firstborn. They're the ones that make the families look really good, head of the football team, head of the cheerleading squad, valedictorian, all the praise. Family's dysfunctional as hell behind closed doors, but out to the public and to the community, the hero makes us look amazing. The hero as an adult, still functioning in the hero role, is going to look like a overfunctioner. They're going to look like a natural leader. They're going to be the one that stays when everybody else is leaving to go home. They're the one where rather than working within the boundaries or the times of Monday through Friday slot, they finish a project rather than finish a day. They're also quite full of resentment because no one is working as hard as they are working. They are also heavy numbing and medicators. They have to be, because in order for my whole world to be about work and over functioning, I cannot be paying attention to my body. So heroes within the workplace oftentimes get rewarded. They get bonuses. They get raises. They get in management quickly. Director of training for McDonald's by the time I was 16. Hello, hero. Yes, that was me. Remember, we can fulfill more than one role. We can transition between roles. But what causes the role to lead is when we're in another dysfunctional system and I can step right into that role and it stabilizes things. Remember, codependency is not bad or wrong. Codependency is meant to create stabilization or homeostasis. So if you think of that baby mobile of the family system, family of origin, somebody hits the side of that baby mobile, the whole family is in an uproar. Something bad has happened. Mom was in a car accident. Dad had a relapse. Whatever it is, the trauma that shakes up that system, codependency, when people step into those roles, is what straighten it out. What makes it dysfunctional, bad, or wrong is when there's no repair, meaning I stay in that role. And for many of us, depending on what caused the codependency to come up, which can be a vast number of things, it's not just substance use and abuse. Oftentimes there isn't a repair because there also is an acknowledgement that trauma existed. So trauma, definition, it's an experience, not an event, goes unnoticed because our culture is really good at minimizing that shit, right? Unless it makes it to Jerry Springer or the cops were called, no trauma here, we're good. Not true at all. Trauma happens when one's body can't understand or experience what's happening in the present moment. When codependency stabilizes that and there isn't a repair, that role, it becomes really effective. I apply that role at school if I'm 12, 13, 14 years old. Maybe I'm the class pet. Maybe I'm the favorite in the class. Maybe I'm the valedictorian. I learn how to use that role throughout my life in different environments because it fucking serves me. Behavior serves a purpose. I didn't say it was healthy. I just said it serves a purpose. So when you think about codependency in the workplace, notice with each of those roles, how that can show up in any system, whether that's work, whether that's the soccer team, the football team, whether that's the women's circle or the what's the clubs called at church? It doesn't matter. The women's whatever at church or the men's whatever at church, everything is a system. And so when we think about those roles, the reason that they continue in my journey is because I'm unaware of the role. I just know that it serves me. Now, unfortunately, when it comes to work, ay caramba, when I first started therapy, if you've been with me for a while, you've heard me tell this story, because in the Psychology Today magazine, which is kind of a credible source, Psychology Today released an article about why codependents are the best employees. Makes sense, right? We're overachievers. We're overfunctioners. We're dysfunctionally loyal. We will stay until shit gets done. We will overgive and not expect anything in return. We will work more and make less. Recognizing my role in my codependency is what allows me to be, in my coaching and consulting, this is my blurb and it's coming up right now, is what allows me to be not just profitable, but also successful. Like, in other words, fulfillment. For me to love what I do, that means I won't burn out. Burnout is me doing something I don't love. When I love what I do, I can feel very successful in it, but it doesn't mean I'm profitable. You know why? Because if I don't have those healthy boundaries, I'm not going to acknowledge my worth, and I'm not going to ask for what I need. I want a raise. I'm doing the job of 2 people. I want the money of 2 people. It is so much easier for a codependent to say yes than it is for a codependent to say no. And so in the workplace, codependents are highly desired, especially in corporate America. So being able to recognize my role and how that shows up is my recovery for showing up whole, integrated, in recovery, regardless of my environment, regardless of my women's circle or my best friends or family of origin or work or my soccer team that I play on. I can walk right into that role really easily. And it might be effective for some things, but in other ways, it's also not going to serve me. Codependency in the workplace is not going to serve me. I might feel successful, but I'm probably going to burn out and I won't be profitable. When we're talking about those boundaries of me getting what I want versus me using a healthy boundary, there is a good chance that I might not get what I want. And what makes that less cognitive and more body oriented is it's going to feel yucky. Because those of us that have heard the phrase or experienced the phrase, once I go recovery, I can't go back. As soon as I start trying to manipulate, it feels yucky. I suck at lying. Like, if you've known me for a while, I suck at it. It's because when I'm in connection and in relationship, I'm usually surrounded by people that I want to be with. So I'm excited. I don't filter a whole lot. That's not bad or wrong. It's just, why do I need to lie? Why not be transparent? Why not be honest? Now, there's a level of depth that goes, of course. And once I go recovery, it's really hard to go back. So when I am working in a work environment and I'm in my recovered self, some of you may have experienced having to transition jobs because you didn't fit the mold anymore, or having to transition friend groups because you didn't fulfill the codependency needs anymore. The more whole and integrated I become, the more authentic and aligned I become, which means I'm probably going to get my needs met, but it probably won't be in the easiest way. I might have to work for it a little bit more, or I might have to create it myself. Either way, once I go recovery, it makes it really hard to use those compensations that I used to use, makes it hard for those compensations to play a role anymore, because I know I have a right, or I know that I'm worth it, and I'm going to just ask for it. And if I don't get it, then it's my responsibility to go find somewhere where I can. So recovery and codependency, especially in the workplace, there's a reason a lot of us identify with feeling lonely in recovery. There's so much that transitions. It's not just lonely because my friend groups change. It's also lonely because I'm using boundaries and I don't put myself in positions where I'm not respected or I don't feel emotionally safe. And until I learn those new environments, or I learn how to keep myself safe and go in new relationships, that loneliness kind of lingers. It's not permanent, it is temporary. And it's rooms like this that allow us to learn the difference in, man, in the rooms, they know more than me. They know more than my friend circles, or they know more than my family of origin. That's probably because there's a higher level of safety. So as soon as I start to adopt that and recognize how to build that in my own relationships, that loneliness dissipates. But when it comes to codependency and it's back to basics, it is looking at, what am I putting down, or what are my old behaviors that I'm trying to compensate with that aren't serving me anymore? And if I am trying to use those old behaviors, it's probably wearing me out because they're exhausting. And the more I'm out of alignment, the more yucky I feel. I realize that's not a very recovery or clinical term, but it's what I got.